Software needs an update. I'm going to go ahead and put that laptop off to the side here because we have some parts today. Got that thing, and then whatever's in this box here. Oh, hey, look at that. Ooh. So we have a charge pipe kit and a header to test on, oh hey, it's the 23 WRX. Looks a little different. It's a little monster truck status right now. Down here, I'm going to show you. I'm probably not supposed to show you, I'm going to get yelled at, but those are blue Rally Tech lift springs. I don't know if you can see that Rally Tech on there. Those will be coming out real shortly here if they're not already out. But yeah, 23 WRX lift springs if you want to be mountain missile mode. Obviously this thing has some aero and autocross wheels and tires and whatnot, so it's not a mountain missile, but you know, it's a prototype car, so might as well test on the platform you have. Anyway, nothing has changed on this car since the last time it was on the dyno. So what we're going to do is do a quick baseline today just to make sure that everything is pretty close to where we left it off, and because it's about 35 degrees outside, even though the dyno uses corrections, we just want to make sure that we're putting down apples to apples comparison numbers. So the first thing we're going to do once we get that baseline done is we're going to change out the charge pipe with that ETS charge pipe, and then we're going to do another pull, obviously, and then what we'll do is we'll change the header and do another pull. And I'm not going to be making any tuning changes until after we do the header. So what we're going to be seeing is, does this charge pipe on its own pick up horsepower? It's got a mummy wrap on it, but does the charge pipe pick up horsepower, and do the headers pick up horsepower without making tune changes? Okay, so my baseline, 299.68, second pull as always, torque 361. It's a little bit lower than my baseline last time, and I'll show you that. So this was my final tuned numbers off the Stage 1 OTS map that we're doing, 304 and 366. Now, why are they slightly different today? Well, I'm going to show you something that's kind of interesting. So this is a smoothed, SAE smoothed, and these numbers are corrected, so they're weather corrected. But if we go in here and look at the actual uncorrected power and uncorrected torque, we're going to see something kind of interesting. So now, today in the red, 317 and 379 torque. So we're actually making a little bit more power today than we were last time because it's colder out. So uncorrected means this is the actual power that this car is making at this moment on this day with no math done to the numbers. So this is what the dyno measured. And then in order to try to standardize things, what the dyno does is it has correction factors. And correction factors, while they are good for getting a little bit closer results from day to day, the downside to them is when it's as cold as it is outside as it is right now, basically the car is actually not going to target as much boost, and that's by design. Otherwise we'd be spiking over 20 something pounds because it's so cold today. But the numbers look pretty good, they look smooth, everything looks great, no knock. So we're going to go with this is our baseline, 299.68 today, and from there we are going to add some parts. I believe we can install this without taking the car off the dyno, but we're gonna find out. All right, so this is the charge pipe, and it comes down right off the turbo, right down here. So not not too complicated. Just had to pull the fan, which came out super easy. Okay, let's look at one versus the other. I guess probably this way. You can see there's a pretty significant little tiny hole, big old hole. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, little mounting tab. Cool. So the first thing we got to do is put this piece on, and it's going to use this factory retaining clip. Don't drop this down the dyno hole, or else it's going to be a pain in the butt. Obviously, most of you aren't going to be installing this part on the dyno. That's just my masochism. But yeah, so this is a little billet piece that ETS made, which allows the connection to the turbo, and then we're going to use a typical silicone coupler connection from there. We have to get the O-ring out of the inside without ripping it. Voila! I just use a little hook to just kind of grab it out of there, and that will go inside the billet piece. So now it goes inside, which is kind of tricky, having a retained O-ring inside your piece. But just kind of work it around with your fingers, and it goes right in. Voila, cool. And then I recommend a little bit of lube just to help install it. Never go anywhere without your petroleum jelly. Just to let it slide on a little easier. Otherwise, you're gonna fight it, and you can pinch and tear the O-ring, and then you're gonna have a really bad time trying to source a new O-ring for that. Next little pro tip, put the retainer spring on there first, and then just drop it home. Make sure you align it in a way that you'll be able to get it out though later. All right, we're in. I don't know if you can see that, but we're on. Cool. And so there's your turbo outlet, and there's that billet piece. Pretty spiffy. And again, I'm still strapped to the dyno, so this is a job you can do in your driveway. Super easy. Don't even have to get out the jack stands. Now ETS ships it with these T-bolt clamps, and just because they gave me this part, I'm going to install these. But normally I would just throw these in the garbage and use different clamps. But free parts, gotta show. I'm not saying that these are garbage, but I'm saying that I hate T-bolts for a lot of reasons. It is a steel pipe, so the T-bolt probably be okay, but still, it's just not what I prefer. So we're gonna use the small one on the turbo, and then that one, and then these two elsewhere. One thing to absolutely consider if you're using these T-bolts, this is plastic. Don't over tighten that clamp. And the aluminum billet piece down there, don't over tighten that clamp either. If you crack that, it's gonna be kind of expensive to replace. And then this, if you crack it, you're gonna be replacing that whole piece. The pipe shouldn't have a lot of deflection because it's hard mounted, so you shouldn't have to really like send these home. They should be okay, just snug. But just be super careful, because if you put torque on this, and same with the other one, you will damage the pipe in the billet piece. So again, be really careful if you're going to use T-bolts. So we have our baseline 299 and 361 torque today, and what did we get? Oh, 299. and 365. I did start the pole just a hair sooner. Unfortunately, it's super hard to get it exact. I mean, it's 100 RPMs, but it does change the characteristics of how the turbo spools. But once we are at the same point, it's pretty much identical everywhere. So not a power part, I would say. And realistically, I didn't expect it would be. And to show you why I didn't expect it would be, so when you've been doing this as long as I have, you'll notice a few things. And that is, this part, while it looks all janky on the outside, it's actually smooth bore on the inside. And it's a nice elongated piece, and it's also made of a composite plastic, glass reinforced plastic, something like that material, which doesn't transmit heat. So this part, while it might look dumb and ugly and like, you know, those Star Wars guys with the big long nose, like that's what it kind of looks like, but it's actually a good part. And that's one of the tricky parts when you're modifying your vehicle, and this is why vehicle mods are personal as much as they are performance. But this does definitely look better. It's a nice, clean, powder-coated black. There are other companies that make these with different finishes and whatnot. But realistically, what this part is doing is just getting air from the turbo to the intercooler. And you're pushing that air. You're not pulling the air. If you were pulling the air, then you can talk about things like softer bends and larger diameters and less flow restriction. But when you're pushing the air and forcing the air, stuff like this typically doesn't make much of a difference, especially at the low boost levels we're running. Now, if you were at 35 pounds, we'd probably see a difference. But at 20 pounds, not so much. And that's just it. It's a pretty piece, but as far as performance, in fact, you can feel it right now. It's warm, and the factory one wouldn't be. So this might actually make your heat soak issue a little bit worse, but it does make the engine prettier. When you start getting to thin wall versions of this and aluminum versions of this, you're going to transmit heat even faster. So just be kind of weary of that. Titanium transmits heat pretty well. So just, you know, kind of keep that in mind. But it looks good, and we didn't lose power, at least not on the dyno. So if we didn't lose power and we gained prettiness, we gained something at least. So yeah, the next step, since we've now tested that part and confirmed, oh, and by the way, it worked perfectly flawlessly with our tune, so nothing to note there. If you want to put that part on any of the charge pipes, I'm going to update our tune listing to show that all of the charge pipes are compatible with our Stage 1 map. The next thing we're going to test is this bad boy right here. For this, I'm not going to be able to do it on the dyno, even though we are in lifted monster truck status. The under panels and everything have to come off. So I'm going to get the car over to, sorry about the background noise. I'm going to get the car over to the lift, and we'll get going on step 2 of this process. Don't worry, EPA, we're putting that back on. I got this all out. Sorry, it's bad lighting for you, but twin scroll turbo, headers are off. You can see good old ports. And good old ports up there. Yeah, everything looks good. Here's that electronic wastegate that I was talking about in a previous video. Again, super hard to see, but there it is. That's what makes the magic happen on these things. All right, got that bear out of there, and I think it's time for tacos. Oh yeah, the taco wagon. I guess that one's not a wagon; it's a taco stand. But it's legit. Oh buddy, just a couple of little tacos. I'm on a diet. So the theory is that the larger runners in this will make more power. You can see they're pretty much ported all the way out, actually beyond what the flange size is, whereas these ones step in from the flange. So we'll see. This may or may not actually increase power without raising boost. What this might allow us to do is run more boost out the top. And so what we might see, my prediction, is that we're going to see power pretty similar, but if you look in the data log, I'm going to be at less wastegate position, which means that I can get more boost out the top. But this tune may not be shooting for, like, it may not allow it to make that additional boost. So realistically, I don't expect a gain, at least not without tuning the car. But again, if we see zero loss and then we have the ability to make gains in the future, that will be a benefit. So it'll be interesting to see what this does. Would you look at that? It just slid right on. So these Subaru studs are like made of peanut butter, and they use these stupid pinch nuts, which damages them when you pull them off. So make sure if you have a 10x125 tap, when everything's apart, you run a tap down each one and just clean up the threads. If not, what I just resorted to, which worked pretty well, because again, these are soft like peanut butter, is a stainless nut. Will actually reshape the threads pretty well. This one up here was trying to gall, and this one back here was trying to gall, so that actually fixed it pretty well. Okay, got those there, and the car is back on the dyno, and no tune changes. We're just going to see what it does on my stage 1 map and see if it overboosts, underboosts, makes a bunch of power, or does a whole lot of nothing without tuning the car. Here we go. Okay, results time, and it's kind of what I expected. So this was our baseline, and this is our baseline with the charge pipe overlay, pretty much the same numbers. So let's hide the baseline, and here comes the header, pretty much the same numbers. What's interesting is I actually lost a tiny bit of power in the mid-range, not a lot, like 1 or 2 horsepower. Yeah, like that's 3 right there. A little bit more there, a little bit less there. But the reason for that in the data log is it actually significantly overshot the boost right here on spool up, so right at 3,000 RPMs. We hit almost 1.5 pounds more boost, which is a good sign. That means things are flowing better. And then the boost control comes in and pulls it back, but it actually kind of over pulls it back a little bit, and we lost a little bit of boost through the mid-range. Doing enough 5 or 6 more pulls, it'll actually kind of learn its way back up to our target, but it definitely, to recognize the gains from this part, is going to need a tune. Like I said, it's because it's using wastegate position, it is trying to come on significantly harder. We spiked almost 22 pounds down here. Typically this tune hits about 19, so it's a significant increase in boost, but the boost control system took care of it, and we ended up with essentially the same numbers everywhere else. So what that tells me is this part is fine on the stage 1 map that I've built for the car, but it definitely would benefit from a tune. I'm not going to offer a shelf map for it because it's such a small change, but you definitely can install one on your car and not have to worry about retuning it. And that should be true for most tunes. I'm not going to speak for other tuners, but as long as they have left a reasonable amount of adaptability in the tune, it should be fine. All right, now before anybody says, hey, you installed all those parts and didn't pick up any power, I have to explain something. What happened is the boost control system on the car is very good at targeting a specific boost level. And I have that tune set so that the boost target tapers off towards redline, and basically it hits its target effectively perfectly every time. Now it overshoots a little bit at first, and then it levels off, and then it tapers. Because of this boost control strategy, what's happening is, even though the turbo isn't working as hard because there's more airflow, it's not, the wastegate position is staying open more, and as the wastegate position stays open more, the turbo doesn't have to do as much work or spin as fast to make the same amount of boost. Now, the air intake temperatures we had today being very cold out, we weren't seeing any heat soak on the top mount or anything because we're on the dyno. It's a best case scenario. You're not going to see much as far as gains. But on a hot day at the racetrack, that turbo's not working as hard. It's not generating as much heat. The car will perform better. And if we decided to, at a later date, which isn't the point of this video, but at a later date to turn up the boost, maybe put a little bit of ethanol, E30, E40 mix, or put some octane booster in it, or methanol injection, something of that sort, and turn the boost up, then we're going to start seeing significant gains because the turbo will be able to make more boost that it couldn't make before. So that's the point of these parts. It's not that you're going to see tremendous gains at 18, 19 pounds. Like I said, this one actually tapers off to about 15 pounds up at redline, and that's the target of this map. This is a stage 1 map. It's designed to encompass a lot of parts. Now, if we custom tuned this car, we could probably see some pretty significant gains. But that's not the point of this car. The point of this car is development and developing packages that we can sell customers, and that people can run on their own car. So that being said, basically the stage one tune that I built is effectively good for, now dyno proven, any bolt-ons that you want, plus currently stock intake or ETS intake. And that's the only thing that changes what tune you're going to have, is what intake you have, and then I guess what fuel you're running. So if you're running 93 octane, you'll pick the 93 tune, 91, you'll pick the 91, etc. So yeah, it's a really, really adaptive map, and it's going to hit its targets and make the power that it's supposed to make every single time. So that's what's important, is we want the cars to be reliable and consistent, and fast as well, which it is. So that's what we had for you today. I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you sticking with me through this process. And I think I just heard that I might have a J-pipe sitting on the shelf, so I'm gonna go grab that, but that's gonna be a different video because that's gonna involve tuning. So that's it for this video, but I am gonna go install that J-pipe, so stay tuned for the official Stage 2 coming up in a short time. Thanks for watching, guys, and please, if you enjoyed this content, subscribe. Oh no, we have a tag along. Oh man, there's my horsepower right there. It was blocking the inlet. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep these videos coming, knowing that you're interested in them. And make comments, ask questions. I try to answer every single comment while I can. If I don't get to your comment immediately, I usually get to them within a day or two. So again, thanks for watching, and yeah, enjoy.